which is not a problem.
1 o'clock.
But it does mean that my laptop might not be powered. We'll have to power it up. We'll see. All right, so luckily I operate off of a Chromebook whenever I'm traveling, and they take no time at all to power up. That's a joke. Let's see. Wakey, wakey, eggs and bacon. All right, so today we're going to be talking about cryptocurrency. Let's start with some basics. How many people here know what cryptocurrency is? How many people have a wallet? All right, not one of these wallets, you know, a cryptocurrency wallet. How many of you think that cryptocurrency is solely populated by criminals and scumbags and things like that?
I do. What's wrong with that thinking?
So,
Nothing.
and in most cases, you're right, nothing. Oh, by the way, let's be clear about something. If you run a conference, don't switch from Android to iPhone the day before your conference. It really screws up your messaging, okay? So let's do this. Let's get online. An amazing concept.
Come on, grab a seat just like everybody else. Don't be shy.
We have more coming.
That's not grab a seat. That's stand as the wall.
I stand at the wall.
Oh, okay.
I'm just directing back.
Oh, you're directing and you're okay. Come on, grab a seat. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to fix that in a second. Okay, so cryptocurrency is interesting. Actually, so let's set the stage a little bit. We're actually building a blockchain company. Now, does anybody understand the difference between blockchain and cryptocurrency? What's the difference, Wasabi?
One is fake and the other is fake.
Oh!
Because you didn't implement HIPAA or GDRP.
Say again?
GDRP, what?
You didn't implement GDRP?
GDPR, Schmuck. Get your acronyms right.
No, because it's also fake.
The moon landing?
Actually, that happened. You can bounce signals off the moon. There's a metal plate up there we put there.
Yeah, it's called rocks.
Now the Earth is flat.
If it was, then cats would have knocked everything off of it already.
Any theories?
Including you.
Including you, yes.
So it's...
I mean, it's a plate. Like when you pour water on it, it just falls on. If you hold it tight, you put water on it, it falls off the side.
Okay, guys, you're ridiculous.
What, spin the tennis ball walking around? Tennis ball around. Okay.
There we go. Okay, we should all see.
Subset of dead people, Tom Cody.
All right, in all seriousness, the difference between blockchain and cryptocurrency is simple. Cryptocurrency rides on top of blockchain. You can argue about Monero and ring signatures all you want, but most cryptocurrencies ride on top of blockchain. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Blockchain is a database. Cryptocurrency is an idea on top of the database. So,
Password one. Yeah, is your password blocked? I don't see you.
My voice is my password. Verify me.
I don't see you pulling out your Hey, Josh, you changed your password 21 days ago.
Thank you. I noticed that. You gotta be kidding me. Okay. So blockchain is an immutable.
I now understand why we have a speaker unprepared in this room.
No, it's called the effigy of a Chromebook.
No, it's not. It's called that Josh forgot he had to speak at 1 and went, oh crap.
It's one.
It's 1.
So speak.
There we go. Okay.
1300.
Shut up.
It's one somewhere in the world.
Twice. So what is the difference between cryptocurrency and blockchain? Right? Cryptocurrency has tidings of misgivings tied to it, right? Where there literally are companies that change their name and their stock price goes up because of cryptocurrency, like the Long Island, what was it?
Blockchain iced tea company.
Yes, right?
The blockchain iced tea company, their stock went up 400%.
Did
All right.
you see what happened with these guys? I mean, their stock went through the roof in the matter of minutes after they changed the name.
So cryptocurrency has a bad reputation because it is seen as what we scam people with. Now, let's be honest, it's true. Okay? Out of the roughly 1,000 cryptocurrencies that have been out there since the introduction of cryptocurrency, how many of them are scams? Anybody? What percentage? Who thinks that 30% or more of cryptocurrencies have been scams?
I'd say 90%. All.
Okay, not all of them.
Not all of them.
Who thinks that, raise your hands. If you think 30% or more, raise your hands. Keep them up. Who thinks 40? 50? 60? 70? 80?
I just want to be sure you're not the only one up here with your hand up.
Oh, you're so sweet. 81%.
Yep.
No, 81% are guaranteed, like sort of defined, agreed scams. So cryptocurrencies are interesting. Now, what is primarily the way that they are scams? There's two major types of scams in cryptocurrency. Now, there are blatant ones. There are literally cryptocurrencies that people said, oh, this is a Ponzi scheme, please buy. Now, I'm going to ask, would anybody here buy if they saw that in the description? Probably yes.
Yeah, if the name, let's be honest, if the name was, oh, I don't know, Dogecoin.
That's not, Dogecoin's real.
That's my own opinion.
Dogecoin's actually a real currency. People sell it and buy it. It's real, it's legit. But there are ones that literally had, this is a Ponzi scheme. Or they had every cryptocurrency for a while you had to have your white paper. And so they'd have a white paper, and it was literally like, they would not even scrub out the name of the team that actually wrote the white paper. So if you read the white paper, you're like, wait, this isn't the name of the, oh crap. And they just cut and paste. Like that bad, okay? They're like, oh, it's a PDF, it's way too hard to edit. Give me a break. So, but, okay, let's back up a step.
Hi guys, I'm Scott.
Hey, hey.
Hey, what's going on? So, I'm the CEO of Red Lion. You can pretty much read here. I'm not going to read it to you. But I will tell you that I love talking business and I love talking to people about business, right? Very, 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 very passionate about business hacking. Was all over the place from Fed to contractor to commercial to whatever, okay? Josh is?
I'm the Chief Operating Officer, the coup of Red Lion.
Yeah, the coup.
Say it twice, you'll see about how sane I am.
That stands for Chief Cook and Bottle Washer, right?
Don't go there. I make sure things work. Scott makes sure that we stay alive as a business. That's the way it works.
Yep.
Been around the block, done way too much stuff. I'm one of the primary organizers of this conference. If you didn't know that, again, you haven't been here before. No, stop. He just got a tattoo. I really can't hit him that hard. I have been around the block more than once, and this kind of thing is fascinating. So I lost all my hobbies becoming an entrepreneur, and when I was able to have a little bit of time to regain them, because I only had a kid and 3 businesses to run, I obviously had plenty of time. I decided that cryptography was fun, and I got interested in cryptography and started reading it. Cryptocurrency and blockchain are based on cryptography, and we really started talking about this, Scott and I, and had some interesting thoughts. So, cryptocurrency, scam or savior, and so, okay, so the two scams that you'll find in cryptocurrency almost universally are what's known as an exit scam, and we'll talk about the other one in just a second. But an exit scam is interesting. Does anybody know what an exit scam is? What is it?
They wait and build up trust until they have a lot of money banked, and then they just shut down shop with all the money.
So imagine
so
if you,
like Scientology.
They would shut down shop, man.
Or LDS.
Imagine if you put your money in the bank, and one day the guy that owns the bank goes, whoo, I got lots of money, I'm gone. Okay, that's effectively what happens with a lot of cryptocurrency, what's known as exchanges. An exchange effectively is a bank, right, Frizz? And an exchange will take in cryptocurrency so that you can exchange it. I can go, hey, Ed, I'd like to buy that car, and I'm going to give you 3 Bitcoin for the car. And he goes, great. And so he hands me the keys and the title of the car, and I hand over 3 Bitcoin. Because it's in an exchange, it's just an inter-exchange transaction. It doesn't have to go out on the grand Bitcoin blockchain. It doesn't take 6 days to get the transaction through. 5 seconds later, he goes, I've got my 3 Bitcoin in my wallet, I'm good. How does that happen? It happens because I transfer all of my Bitcoin into the exchange's wallet. The Bitcoin actually then owns, the exchange then owns my Bitcoin. Oh, that's a problem because they can just take it. But for convenience sake, internally in their own little accounting system, they can say, put it in Ed's wallet, put it in his wallet, put it in her wallet, that kind of thing. So it's fast, but you give up control and anonymity, okay? So, that's interesting. Listen to the anonymity part, all right? Remember that. Now, go ahead, Scott.
I don't need to read it. Like, it's really self-evident what's going on, right? We're trying
I put
to
this
talk
slide
about,
in. I put this slide in after he saw the last draft.
and that's
So I
fine.
totally
and
get
that's
it.
fine. And that's fine. I can play slide roulette. We're good.
I know, you're great
Okay.
at that.
Okay, I don't really need to read what's going on here because a lot of what we're talking about is anonymization, right?
Well, in
Is
this
about
case-
what's going on in the marketplace itself, and then how to identify what's really happening out there.
So Bitcoin from about $8,000 per Bitcoin up to the high of, what was the highest?
16K,
16
something
to
like that.
16 to 17.
It was about
something like that.
19 actually.
Let's wait, hold on, time out. Are you talking about the market itself, or are you talking about the public-facing market? Notice what
Now
I'm
the
saying.
exchange, in the public-facing market.
In the public-facing market.
Yeah, it was about 19K per Bitcoin. From about $8,000 up to 19, it was manipulated. Now, interestingly enough, it was manipulated using a currency known as Tether. Tether is fascinating. Tether is supposed to be tethered. 1 Tether equals $1 US. Tether was used to, it was injected, if you will, into the Bitcoin marketplace. When Bitcoin started to go, like, stop, plateau, and then come down, they would just go buy 1,000 Bitcoin with Tether, which that shows a strengthening of the market, and people kept that thing going. It's the equivalent, or it actually is, it's called a pump. You're pumping the market using Tether. Now, Tether's interesting. We're not going to get into it. That's a talk I don't think I'll give. Tether's a fascinating currency. If you follow Tether, there's some interesting things about the wallets that own it. I'm not going to get into that right now.
Is it trading at 1-to-1 at the moment, or is it trading below $1 for Tether?
Right this second, I honestly don't know. I'd have to look it up. I've been playing with, I don't play with Tether right now. I was looking at Tether historically, if that makes sense. So the pump and dump. So they pumped Bitcoin with Tether. And then when it got to 19K, and all the mother...
Josh, we've been dynoed. We've been put on the dyno.
Tiny little dino arms.
Hey, Dyno, do me a favor, clap. Now do push-ups. Dyno up, dyno up, dyno up. All right, now, go. So Tether was bought to,
Did we lose our projector?
we lost our projector when he came over.
Said Tether.
Tether was purchased once the plateau was hit, right? With that 1-to-1 relation, right? Can somebody quickly go out and hit up Google real quick, right? While we're fixing our mistake. Can somebody go out and hit up Google, figure out what a Tether costs right now? What is it right now, like live on the market itself? I love it. Everybody's pulling out their phones and they're completely distracted. See, social engineering. No, okay. Never mind. There we go. Okay.
All right, so pump and dump.
Did we get an answer on the Tether?
0.9991.
Okay, right around $1.
It's around $1.
All right, but by the way, even if it's around $1, you can still do arbitrage trading on that. What is arbitrage trading? Arbitrage trading is the trading when there's a difference in value. So I can do microtransactions and trade for a half of a tether, and then when it goes to, let's say I buy a whole tether at 91 cents, or was it? And I
90.99.
okay, so 99 cents. It goes to
Yeah.
1.01. I've now gained 2 pennies in value, right, roughly. I sell it, I've made 2 cents. Ooh, that's great, yay. But when you do it for 1,000,000 tether, you've now gained 1,000,000 times 2 cents, which is, you know, a chunk of money. Okay, that is the traditional amount of how you do stock trading. Day trading, you've heard of day trading? Day trading is trading in such minuscule increments of value, large increments of volume. Does that make sense? You buy 10,000 shares of something and it changes by 3 cents, you sell it, you've now made, 3,000 pennies or whatever.
So it's sort of like the reverse paradigm for the CISSP, mile wide, inch deep, only this time it's inch wide, mile deep?
Pretty much.
Okay.
But, sorry, we do weird jokes. But in this case, with a pump and dump, I can get any one single currency, or one single unit of currency, up $1,000 in value, or in this case, $12,000 in value. So if I bought one Bitcoin at, say, $8,000, and I managed to pump and dump, managed to pump it up to 19,000 or 20,000, I've gained $12,000, right? All right, great. I gained $12,000 in a single Bitcoin. That's pretty awesome. Now, if I can do that, let's say from 2010, when I was stupid and didn't buy the 1,000 Bitcoin I was offered at $0.25 apiece. A quarter, like 25 cents. Okay, a friend of mine, actually, funny story. A friend of mine is transgender. She has, she had some Bitcoin and she wanted the top surgery, breast augmentation. So she sold her Bitcoin and bought her breast augmentation. They are the most expensive pair of breasts you'll ever see because they now cost about $8 million.
Well, so, and that's a good story, but if you have been paying attention to the news, you would have heard about the kid in California who took $5,000 or something around those numbers. You know what I'm talking about, right?
He invested in Ethereum and made like 880,000.
Right.
He owes 400,000 back to the IRS.
And what is it worth now?
It's like 200 bucks.
120K. He owes 440,000 on capital gains, and it's only worth 120.
Right.
So imagine being that much underwater.
So now pump and dump will do that to you because when the people who own all that Bitcoin have been pumping Tether in to pump the value up, sell all their Bitcoin and it drops down to the $8,000. We're seeing, I think, this is my personal opinion, the natural resting point of Bitcoin will be somewhere between $6,000 and $8,000. Which means one Bitcoin will be worth somewhere between $6,000 and $8,000. That's my belief. Take it for what you will. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Is that reflected on the cost of mining it, or is that actually?
The cost of mining it is this hidden sunk cost that is not reflective in the cost of the actual Bitcoin, and I think that will come out, but that's a different question. What he's asking about is the fact that it costs more to mine a Bitcoin than almost anything else, any other part of the Bitcoin sort of universe. The mining is ridiculously expensive these days. You're talking specialized hardware, specialized software. What the hell are you doing, Rick?
You never trust Rick when he has 2 radios and a smile on his face. Right?
Yeah, seriously. So when Bitcoin mining costs so much money and electricity and time and hardware and effort and expertise, honestly, that it's not reflective. It's not reflected in the cost of Bitcoin. Right now, that's because most of the Bitcoin that was mined before it cost so much to mine it, if that makes sense. So it's a small factor. As Bitcoin, more and more the Bitcoin that is mined is part of this high effort Bitcoin universe, you'll see that cost start getting reflected. It might raise the resting point, it might be just accepted as a cost of doing business, if that makes sense. We'll see. I'm actually fascinated to see what happens. Great question, by the way.
So looking out, and
You do
that
the
actually
trading, don't
leads,
you?
that leads, right? How many people here actually mine Bitcoin right now? Right? How many people mined
Good.
Bitcoin a couple of years ago? Come on, don't be shy. No one. Wow, that's clear.
Who mines any cryptocurrency now? Okay. What's that?
That we know of.
Yes, well done. Can I ask what you mine? Do you mind? Oh, really? Okay, and is it worth it anymore? Yeah, Monero's not worth it anymore.
And let's explore that just a little bit further. What makes it not worth it?
Time and effort.
Okay.
I just had it running as a thing on the side when I wasn't using my computer, that's all it was.
Are you tracking metrics of power consumption versus actual mileage?
Oh, now it's definitely not working. Back then, before all of this happened, it was worthwhile.
Okay.
I have it, and then I dumped it when it was worth a lot of money and just had it running in the background.
Nice. So this is the idea of regulation. And every place that has color on the map is either considering or has enacted regulation about cryptocurrencies.
Okay.
There's a lot that doesn't. Like, there's an entire continent that most of it isn't covered by regulation of cryptocurrency. Okay? There's entire subcontinents. There's the Middle East. There's a lot of places that don't have or are not considering regulation of cryptocurrency. So what does that mean? It's the Wild West. Remember, cryptocurrency is easy to cross borders with. So we've been talking a lot about scams. We've been talking about some regulation. What the hell are we talking about? Let's get to that. Can you use hacking to affect a company's stock price? Who thinks you can? Like, duh, it's on the screen.
Right, but more oftentimes than not, when you hack a company, what really happens to the company? Is this typical of what happens? Give me your honest opinion.
Yeah.
Is this typical?
It drops a little bit.
What happens after 6 months or
Let
a
me ask
year?
that
They'll
again.
let you know about it.
Is this typical?
Yes.
No. Try again. You gotta look at it from a different perspective. Okay. Whenever you hack a company or a company is in the news, what are you doing to that company? You're giving them free PR. Okay. Is Target still in play these
So
days?
let's put this in perspective. Is this typical? And the answer is yes. The question is, but for how long?
Right.
Yeah.
That's what he's aiming at.
Yeah.
That depends on the uncertainty of like what's actually happened, like their liabilities. Because
Not really.
No. Try again.
Not really.
Try again.
Because let me explain it this way.
I got two words.
You're an informed
Ashley
consumer.
Madison.
Oh, God. My content that was just for research purposes.
I don't want to know.
I'm
Okay.
up in the room.
Yeah. So what happened with Ashley Madison?
my coworker was very embarrassed about
Take what you said. Take what you
Your
said and apply
coworker.
it to Ashley Madison.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Right? Ashley Madison had how many people? 30 million? Right? The people, right?
Okay,
Of course,
accounts,
most of them were
accounts.
bots. What happened post-breach? It what?
Went up.
Yes. It went
So
up.
the stock price will change. Whether it goes down or up depends on a lot of factors, but you can actually take a look at that. Now, will it normalize? Yes, Target went down, I think, 5% or 7%.
Home
but then
Depot did the same.
Home Depot did the same. So typically, it'll drop and then come back up, even rise above. Okay.
And
So-
even with all of the, I'm gonna step in here. And even with all of the breaches that have happened, all of the hacks, how many companies have actually crashed and burned?
Just yours, Chris.
One company. And if you can tell me which company that was, I'll give you a $10 gift card to Amazon afterwards. Yes.
No Cox.
Nope. Try again. If you can tell me who it was, I will totally give you a $10 gift card to Amazon, courtesy of Red Lion, afterwards.
5, 4, 3, 2, yeah, never mind. All right, so we can change stock prices with hacking them. By the way, that doesn't necessarily mean that we hack the company. I'll explain why in a minute. Now, I gave this talk at InfoWarcon. The guy sitting next to me was Mubix, funny guy. I started my career by using one of his pictures incorrectly, and I gave this talk at InfoWarcon. I had to use him. I took this shot sitting next to him, and I put this on screen, and he just looks at me like, he's so. But seriously, who could do this? Was it a Bond villain, a nation state, Boris and Natasha? Who was it?
Was it somebody in this room?
Could be anybody.
I know who it was.
It could be a fat guy in his mom's basement, New Jersey.
The 400-pound hacker is that?
Wearing a black hoodie that says DEFCON,
Yeah.
right?
Well, ski mask and gloves. I never understood the gloves. I can't type as fast with gloves on. Anyway, so why would people want to manipulate cryptocurrency and volatilize the stock market? Now, these are two separate acts, okay? But they can be linked. If you volatilize cryptocurrency, if you make it spin all over the map, are you going to change or affect the stock market? Yes, because people's money that they might put into cryptocurrency or pull out of cryptocurrency might go into the stock market or get pulled out of the stock market. The people that play in cryptocurrency are the people that think in arbitrage. The people that think in arbitrage can typically do it wherever they are, whether it's the stock market or the cryptocurrency market. Plus, you can do things like make money in cryptocurrency, use the money that you make in cryptocurrency by pumping and dumping to actually play in the stock market. Since you've already got skills and technology, why don't you just threaten to hack, some company, okay? Company X. And Company X, you don't even have to hack them. Find the old dump of passwords that they lost 3 years ago. Swear to God, 3 years ago. And have since entirely fixed. They did great stuff with their security. They rotated all their passwords. They're fine. But I can dump 10 million passwords on the open internet of their stuff. Now, when they go, no, we fixed that absolutely like 2.5 years ago. I don't know what you're talking about. Who's going to believe them?
So
When you can look yourself up and say, oh, that's an old password, but they still had me in there. How bad are you going to think of that company? That's a breach. Could be 3 years old. It's still a breach. Okay, how many passwords, usernames and password pairs, do you think that Scott and I have in our databases right now? Let's keep our hands up. If you drop them when you think that's too many. They don't have that many. 50 million. No, seriously, raise your hands. 100 million. 150 million. 200 million. 250 million. Let's stop these baby steps. 500 million passwords. 1 billion passwords.
Still baby steps, by the way.
3 billion passwords. 30 billion passwords. 60 billion passwords. I think we're at 65?
65 to 70, if not 80.
Yeah, something like that.
And mind you, when we're talking about these numbers, we're talking rough back of the envelope, flat.
We
compressed
literally
facts. However,
can't figure it out.
However, it's every breach that you have seen, heard of, and the ones that you didn't that are being sold on the black market for the last 8 years. We haven't.
So I can release these numbers, I can release these password files, tank your company stock by 3% for 3 days. That's all I need. Because if I'm smart, I'm shorting the stock. I'm using the money I got from cryptocurrency to pay the margin calls. Comes down, I sell. I've now shorted the stock, made a god-awful amount of money, helps destroy your economy for 3 days at a time, which is fine. That's definitely more than a typical news cycle or two. And I've made $1 billion, destroyed a couple of news cycles with horrible economic news, right? And I've committed an act of terrorism without ever harming a single person.
Economic terrorism.
Bing. Go ahead.
Isn't that technically insider trading though?
What?
Because you know something about the company that not even their knows, and you.
By the time I've released 10 million, whatever passwords about your company, do you think insider trading is something I give a crap about?
Well, if they find you because you traded the stock exchange.
If they find me, it's a problem. But I've been doing this as anonymous money making on the cryptocurrency markets. When I transfer to fiat, all I'm doing is transferring money from a wallet here or there to get fiat money, that's US dollars or euro or whatever the hell you go on. And then when I buy and sell on the stock market, whichever stock market I sell on, that's coming off of a server in God knows where it's down.
So we'll take a different spin on this real quick. How many lines of code are there in the Windows system? Anybody know the exact number? How many lines of code? How many?
2 minutes.
Okay, define 2 minutes. Give.
Millions?
Okay, right? Millions, right? Did you know that there's only about 80,000 vulnerabilities that have been discovered? 80 to 90,000. Okay, so instead of using breach data, why not
0 days.
go and roll your own 0 day?
I mean,
think about 80 to 90,000 total vulnerabilities.
so far.
Not just Windows, but everything. Come on, you're killing me, Smalls.
So, but I mean, who could be doing this kind of thing? I have no idea.
Yeah. China, bro, China. Okay.
They were very firm when they told us that they didn't do it.
They were very firm when they told us they didn't do it. All right. He gets the gift cert. Anyway.
Huge China.
Look, this has not been done that we know of. The pump and dumps absolutely have. The exit scams absolutely have. The hacking stock prices absolutely has. That's been mathematically proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. Okay? There are very, very serious mathematicians who have done the analyses, and the simplest form is a t-test, where you actually determine whether something can be due to chance or not. And the p-value? The p-value is far surpassed. In other words, the chance of these items happening by chance is very, very low. Okay? Now, have they all been linked together? This is something that we thought of as a what if. Like, what if somebody really cool and stupid and crazy did this stuff? Wow, wait, what if they did this too? Oh my God, that's awesomely funny. Oh wow, that's really bad. Yeah, but it's still cool. One of those situations, okay?
Oh, you get to compete with Dia. Have fun.
Okay. Hey, as long as you're not.
I can take care of that.
As long as you're not asking us to make PB&J on stage, we're good.
So,
Who went to DC?
people have done Bitcoin pump and dumps. People have performed hacktivism on stock prices. But have they put them together? Have they chained these events together in such a fashion as to actually do things for economic warfare, if you will? Is that information warfare? Does anybody have an idea? Okay, I think so.
Or how many times do you think something like this has actually been put into a very elaborate media campaign against, oh, I don't know, an election. Look at all the dots. I know it's a little far-fetched, but look at the dots and tell me I'm wrong. That's serious.
But
So, why?
I mean, you make money. You don't have to do economic warfare to make money at this. You can just be really smart and really evil and make a lot of money, hurting a lot of people. You can do it for psychological operations, psyops. Okay? You can do it to rabble-rouse. How many people bought second mortgages to buy Bitcoin? Hopefully nobody here, but a lot of people did, right? And if you can make their houses worth less than nothing, do you think they'll be quiet and calm and good little citizens? Their biggest asset just became something that drags them down beyond their children's lifespans. They'll have to commit, they'll have to, what's the word? Bankruptcy. They'll have to go to bankruptcy court just so their kids don't have to drag their debt around for their entire lives. And their kids will start with less than nothing when they were trying to let their kids grow in a good environment. Rabble-rousing with this kind of thing is easy. You can make a country destroy itself. We did it to Russia.
Wait, we're not supposed to talk about that, remember?
We did it to the Soviet Union, okay?
China.
China. We can decrease stability. We can make it easier for somebody to screw with. Pick your industry. Pick your segment. Pick your whatever. We can decrease the stability. And it's asymmetric. That's the other thing. This is asymmetric. This is warfare that you can rabble-rouse literally with a few people, or if you're really crazy, one person, against an entire financial segment. All the banks. You can compete as one person with a laptop, like this guy right here. Not that he's doing it. I'm not calling him out that he's doing these things. But maybe he is.
I see you.
You too.
But he could be working on an entire country. We don't know.
Did you know that you could purchase 100,000 Twitter usernames and handles for $8? Think about what you can do if you script all of them to launch an attack.
Or, oh my God, look at the stock price of X company.
Or, oh God, I found stuff on the Clinton Foundation, I better go hide.
Committed suicide, took the back of the head. Money. So look, the basic idea is that this hasn't been done as far as we know. This whole talk is a what if. This whole talk is that this is interesting. This whole talk is a wow, that could be interesting and cool. And I mean, not cool, but it's a great hack. It's scary, but it's a great hack. There's a movie, and they called it a fire sale. This would be a fire sale.
Wait, what was the name of that movie?
What
What was it? What?
Die Hard.
Die Hard, what?
Die Hard.
Was that number 3 or number 4?
4.
Number 4.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I know you don't watch movies because you're just
Too
so
busy.
busy. I have to keep your knowledge up somehow.
He keeps telling me about what's on Live PD. I'm like, I don't care. I'm an ex-cop. I live Live PD.
Did you see last night?
Anyway, so the point is that again, this is a what if. This is a why. This could be interesting. But the fact is that you can now start doing these things and chaining events in the information world to have real life consequences in very, very significant ways in the economic sphere. Everybody's going, oh my God, I can take over a PLC and destroy the gas plant.
He's been wanting to do that all day.
I know, really. But you know, that's great, and that's really tough. They actually secure against those things. You know, I realize, Alex, you're laughing. Just bear with me. You can secure a natural gas plant. They don't mostly, but you can do it.
Yeah, but they can't secure that thing in between the U.S. and Canada, can they?
There's interesting things going on there. Anyway, so
Ask him later about it. He'll tell you.
it's one of James' stories.
Fascinating.
So, but what you can't do is it's really difficult to secure the entire economy. And if you think of it that way, there are ways that we can manipulate and utilize arbitrage to our advantage. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, ask some questions. If we don't have any questions, we haven't done our job, and we will bar the doors and
Yeah, now, with all this being said, and I'm gonna get to that ask close in a second. Realistically, what are we trying to do here, right? We're trying to elicit you to think, right? be broader than what you actually look at on a day-to-day basis and say, what if?
I only do IDS. I only do firewalls. I only do this. I only do that.
How many people have actually done like improv comedy? You can raise your hand. It's okay. I have. I know I'm like funny in the mirror, right?
Only.
There's something called a yes and in improv, right? Take it out of improv and bring it into what you do every day. Yes, and you can do such and such, right? So, throwing the yes and over to Josh. Questions?
Yes. And?
How would, if this happens, how would you tell the difference between this and random noise?
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So you, as we talked about, you do an ANOVA. You do statistical calculations to determine the chance, the possibility of these actions happening due to random chance. Okay.
What I'm going with is breaches happen.
Yes,
right?
that's true.
That's a constant. And people buy and sell securities. How would you detect, say, how would you detect that the two were chained?
Oh, nice. Okay. So here's the deal. So you look for differences. If you buy life insurance, and you buy, let's say, $2 million worth of life insurance, and you ask them while you're buying it, hey, is there a suicide clause in that? And then 2 weeks later you commit suicide, they're gonna be like, we need to talk.
That was after our talk, by the way, not during.
Nobody committed suicide during any of our talks ever.
Not yet.
Shut up. So, because it's a confluence of events. So in this case, for let's say the stock manipulation, you're going to look for someone that's buying, that's shorting that stock in large quantities, okay, and then it happens within the time frame that they specify. When you short a stock, you actually specify a time frame.
Yeah,
I think the
you all
stock
know what shorting stock means, right?
I think the stock is going to drop.
I know. We don't have day traders in here. Y'all know what that means, right? If you don't know what it means, put your hand up. Shorting a stock. Don't be shy. Okay, we have at least 2, 3, 4.
Shorting a stock means when you buy a stock, you assume it's going to go up, so you buy low, sell high, right? When you short a stock, you're actually, and it's a long, complex process, but the idea is I'm betting it's going to drop. You will make money if it drops. You will lose money if it rises.
So it's like going to a casino and betting with the house.
Okay? So if you think that a stock is going to, and by the way, this happened after 9/11. Was it a week after, or a year after? Somebody bet $1 billion that the stock market was going to take a crash, just like 9/11, about a year later. Okay? So either somebody lost $1 billion, or somebody's terrorist plot failed. Not a joke. Like everybody was freaking out, like, they bet $1 billion the stock market's going to crash, just like 9/11. The stock market crashed at 9/11, if you didn't know that. Not, I mean, literally it crashed. But it also took a dive after 9/11, okay? Somebody bet $1 billion, if I remember correctly, that it was going to do the same thing a year later. Everybody freaked out. Because guess what? That's a signal that something's going to happen. If somebody bet $20 something's going to happen, all right, they're betting $20. Somebody bets $1 billion, they're invested. That something's going to happen. And if it doesn't, they're going to make it happen. That was the point. So you look for somebody that's shorting a certain segment, an industry, a company, something. You look for something to happen, and then you try and figure out if the person that shorted it is also the person that caused it. Make sense?
Because case in point, I'm thinking this was probably 2 months ago. Someone dropped a bunch of both internal docs, internal emails, and stories about Tesla's manufacturing process on Reddit.
Right.
It's not like there aren't a lot of people short selling Tesla.
This is true. Tesla's
How do you determine from the regular people who are betting and the person who knew that dump was going to happen?
That's a great one. So, if somebody has...
say you don't know.
What's that?
Because we may not be able to detect that.
We may not be able to, you're absolutely right, we may not be able to detect it. If somebody has the money, the patience, the time, and can act with perfect iron will, can act perfectly steady, then you may never be able to detect it. What you look for are the ticks, the nervous twitches. You look for somebody who shorts Tesla stock for $1 million. And you're like, wait a minute, you only have $50 in the bank. If they go up, you're never going to be able to meet your margin call. Well, if a stock goes up and you bet that it goes down, you have to pay off some of your own bet, okay? So you look for these people that aren't registered investors, but they're buying $100,000 worth of, Tesla shorting, okay?
Let me help you. How many of you have actually run code in a test environment that's not your own? come on, don't be shy. Okay, you've been at work and you're like, I wonder if this will work. Click, crap, right?
Okay, anybody that's a developer that didn't raise your hand, you just lied because you used Stack Overflow.
Yes, okay. It's the exact same thing. We're testing the waters to see if X can happen, if Y is the result. Not like as in WHY, but the letter Y itself, right? XY, and then Z is the after action, right? So now you're talking about actually planning it out. When you're looking at something like that, you have to be able to walk the process backwards from a forensic or an investigative standpoint.
It's almost always going to be an after the fact, ex post facto thing, all right? It's going to be, we had somebody short this stock for $1 million, and they've never shorted it before, and they haven't shorted it since, and there's nothing to indicate that it should have gone down, but it did because of whatever incident. Can we connect the person and the incident? Because that's insider trading.
And then, do you even have enough view to be able to connect those dots, right?
A lot of companies won't let you examine the records because they don't want the bad publicity.
That, and they also claim it's trademark infringement and intellectual property infringement. So you got to be really careful with how you tread.
How many people have been at companies where they had a breach and they didn't actually report it because they didn't want to be seen as, not secure? Okay?
You don't have
Don't
to
raise your hands.
Don't raise your hands. We don't want to know.
You have. Oh, really? What company was that? The point is that sometimes you'll never know for various reasons. There are ways to determine a lot of things statistically, and there are ways that make a good investigator go, wait a minute. But it's really tough. If somebody actually builds up their investment portfolio making money shorting stocks over a long period of time, and they happen to make a lot of money shorting this stock that pays for all of their debts from all the things that they screwed up, and they do it perfectly over a period of years, and that's part of the pattern. It's things that break the pattern that make us suspicious. But if it meets the pattern, it totally makes sense.
But isn't that then part of a extruded salami attack? I mean, think about it.
I'm sorry, what?
How does a salami attack work? Right? You
Please explain.
take off little slivers.
Oh, you're talking about a subway attack?
Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Jesus.
I was always taught it was a salami attack, not a subway attack. Okay, Jared.
So
How you doing?
So the quarter of a cent, the making change on automated payments when you Superman 2, Richard Pryor, and he did, he collected. He's like, oh, I'll get 20 bucks out of the half penny here and the quarter penny there, and like 3 weeks later it was $300,000 or something, which back in those days was real money. Nowadays it's like, well, that's nice, but that's not something to run off to Borneo with or whatever. Those kinds of attacks. How's that relevant again?
Well, it's when you're shorting the same stock multiple times, you're still making gains on it, right?
Boy, you were really pulling that out.
I'm reaching. Help me reach
Okay,
here.
so look, the point is that if you build up a pattern, it's going to be part of the pattern. If you don't build up a pattern, it's going to be new. If it's new, it's suspicious. If who here has never traded in the stock market? Okay, if one of you put $1 million into a stock, the next day it went up 1,000 points and you sold and made $1 gazillion out of it, and then walked away to never trade stocks again, everybody would be like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
right?
Even the SEC.
The SEC would freak out. They'd be like,
whoa.
Excuse me, sir, can we have a little chat with you? Don't worry, it's just a friendly chat. We promise we won't put you in handcuffs at the end of it, unless you screw up.
Or again.
But as long as it's a pattern, if you've been doing it for 20 years and you put $1 million into this stock, make $1 gazillion there, $1 million into that stock, lose $500 million there, okay, that's part of the pattern. Does that make sense, Alex? Honestly, it's old-fashioned detective work. The best pattern matching engine in the world is still between two ears. Not these two ears, just in general. Go ahead.
So, I understand that you've identified patterns, anomalies, and you've started with that system. What happens when you either A, detect it, or B, it becomes a real-world 0 day?
So real-world 0 days happen more often than you expect, and it's kind of fascinating. But in this case, if this ever happened, we would detect it because we'd realize that something didn't fit a pattern. There would be law enforcement agencies that'd be like, how did that dude make you know, $500 million in 3 days when he has no record of stock market trading? How did he come into the market with 3 million when we don't know where that money came from? That's how you're going to detect it. You're going to detect, again, breaks in patterns. Make sense?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? They're going to win. They're going to destabilize that segment, that industry, that economy. They're going to get their aim. The only thing we can do is after the fact, ex post facto again, we can find them, we can arrest them, we can mark them, flag them, watch list them, do something to make sure that they don't do it again, or that we're keeping an eye on them to make sure that they try it again. That time, the second time, in the middle of it, they get that is a very bad day for them.
And because we're talking about that, we can actually drop the 2 buzzwords that we haven't dropped yet, which are AI and machine learning on and off.
Hit you so hard. Pattern matching. That's what he means. That's all AI and machine learning is pattern matching. And but it says different, is trying to sell you something.
Next
Okay?
question.
Next question. Did that answer your question?
Kind of, sort of. I mean, I understand where you're coming from in that aspect as to how, and I was more thinking of like the actual what next. I mean, I get it that a lot of thought has been given into this as, you know, the what ifs, and you know, but you know, have you given consideration as to how the expo factor would play out? You know, maybe what I don't know.
In terms of what exploits they would use?
No, I'm sorry. Like the after effect. Like
Oh,
how
dude,
to either
you can destroy a company. You know, you can take a company and burn it to the ground. You can take an entire industry segment, say entertainment, or I mean, look at Sony. They lost huge market credential, huge market goodwill, huge market everything after half of their damn movies were leaked online. They lost how many millions and hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue. And by the way, their cyber insurance, they went to their cyber insurance vendor and said, pay up, we got hacked. Their cyber insurance vendor said, yeah, that's fine. You know, we'll pay out the $30 million you're due. And they went, wait, we bought 90 million, I think it was 90, correct me if I'm wrong, $90 million worth of cyber insurance, and I think I turned my power on. The insurance company said, yeah, you might have, but you only bought 20 or 30 million of foreign nation state hacking. And they're like, wait, but we got hacked. They're like, sorry, it's enemy nation state. North Korea claimed it.
So when we were starting Red Lion, this was a great tangent. One of the things that we said to each other was, how do we get in front of companies, right? How do we get our methodology out there, right? And our sales methodology, part of it was actually talking to insurance companies.
We went after highly regulated verticals, insurance, cyber insurance being one of them. So we said, let's find out how this works. So we went and talked to insurance brokers, underwriters, and reinsurance companies, which is pretty much the 3 tiers of insurance companies. So we said, hey, you're a broker. What if we can lower the claims percentages by actually testing the companies that you're going to go write cyber insurance for, and we'll tell you the risk factors, which allows you to price the risk better. They said, we don't care.
Right, and the methodology we were taking was, let's comply the companies that you're giving these policies to. So we're watching them hand out million, 5 million, 10 million, 20, 30, $90 million policies, right? And more often than not, for $1 million policy, like seriously, we looked at their questionnaire that they hand to companies. We actually had somebody hand us for $1 million policy, a questionnaire with one question. You ready for this one? Do you own a firewall?
Scott, would it count if the firewall was in a box, still plastic wrapped on the shelf?
Okay? Do you own a firewall? Not is it plugged in, not is it racked and stacked, not is it, you know, are the logs being filtered out of it?
What if the rules of the firewall are
Yes.
any?
Still counts?
Still counts, right? They're serving these policies where they're pulling down the minimum standard to
But their
actually
answer
get the
was, we
policy.
don't care.
Right.
So we went to the underwriters.
Insurance companies.
Yeah.
These are the insurance companies.
Yeah,
The
these are the
brokers.
insurance-
Let's be clear, these are the brokers.
Brokers.
Okay.
Then we went to the underwriters, who actually write out the questionnaires, who actually price the risk, who have to understand the risk in order to price it properly, right, for the premiums? Does that make sense to everybody? And so we asked them if we could lower your claims percentages by doing proper testing and compliance auditing of these companies to make sure that you're pricing your risk properly. And they said, oh, we don't care.
No.
We said, What do you mean you don't care?
Did you go back wearing hats?
No. And they said, well, we pass it on to the reinsurance companies. We just hedge our bets. We don't really care. We get paid no matter what.
Now, let's be fair and honest and give them a chance to strike back. Okay? There was a company in California, I forget the name of the company, I don't think it was Sony.
I won't. Oh, you're talking about Cottage Health?
No, I don't know the name. I don't want to
It's
know
public,
the name.
it's okay. Cottage Health bought a healthcare company, they bought cyber insurance, and as part of the cyber insurance, I'm sorry, is that a problem?
Guys, your wife actually just sent me downstairs to say she knows that everybody is being put to sleep, so if you would like $2 off of a coffee at the truck outside, please raise your hand.
Okay, let's keep going. Cottage Health.
Cottage Health got hacked, and they in their cyber insurance, they said, we will meet this standard of compliance.
And that was like HIPAA, right?
No, it was actually something you could actually certify against. HIPAA doesn't have a certification process.
PCI?
No, we'll call it ISO.
Okay.
And they got hacked, and they said, okay, we need pay up. And so they, the insurance company came in and said, okay, show us your records that you followed the standard. And they went, okay, yeah,
right?
we're following the high trust standard. They said, no, you're supposed to follow HIPAA, or sorry, ISO. And they said, well, yeah, but high trust really works better for us. Like, too bad.
I got it.
It's written, so they didn't get their money.
It was written for them to follow ISO, but they were following something else.
You got to be very careful of those insurance policies, by the way. Read your riders, read your policy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we then went to the reinsurance companies, the final arbiter of risk and price. We said, if we lower your claims percentages, would that be good? At this point, we're disillusioned and miserable and bitter and making horrible stuff. And they said, we'd love to. Great, but we have no idea who our clients are.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Like, our clients are the underwriters. We're not allowed to talk to the actual end user clients.
Right. So those of you who are snickering, it should be every single person in this room should be snickering at that.
They don't get to talk to the end user clients because it's not their business. Their clients are the underwriters and occasionally a broker. They're not allowed to talk to the end users. Those are the clients of the underwriter and the brokers.
Right, now let's look at the other side of the coin, okay? What's actually being done? We have new regulation coming out of California, which is supposed to match something of GDPR-ish, right? This is where everybody says yes, because you know what I'm talking about. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Okay, we have new legislation coming out of South Carolina, right?
Oh, yeah,
which is supposed to be fixing what we just spoke about. However, very shortly
Legislators doing tech,
Yeah.
always a good idea.
very shortly here, you're going to start to see personal cyber insurance.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Coming. And if you aren't ready to say no, you will be when it gets here.
Okay, time for one last question. Anybody? Yes.
When you start your own insurance company, then.
Here's the problem. So
Do you wanna back
I'll
up?
give you one quick story. One insurance company out of Switzerland actually started building a red team to go do, not really a red team, more like a testing team, an assessment team to do what we were talking about. The entire assessment team got snapped up by a very smart company because like, oh, they built a really nice team. Can I hire all of you? And they said, well, how much are you going to pay us? And they named a number and they went, holy crap. And they literally, en masse, defected. And it's like, so every insurance company since then has been like, well, we can't do this. So we've actually talked to several insurance companies to try to be their testing team. None of them are smart enough.
No, and they don't care. All they want to do is sell their policy. That's it. They do not care.
What's that? Yeah, you said something.
I said that is the truth.
Yeah, they don't
They
care.
do not care.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've hit our time limit. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure.